Here's a review for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I saw the movie on Saturday night in IMAX. As to quote Tom Cruise's intro before the film, these films were truly made for IMAX.
I'm privileged to be able to make movies for the big screen. And everyone took extra care to craft this film in IMAX. And I certainly hope you enjoy because we made it for you.
And it was a packed auditorium. Now, over the last 14 years, Mission Impossible has had a decent amount of installments, and I've mostly enjoyed all of them very much. But for whatever reason, it's just been one of those franchises that I don't really think about unless there's a new one heading into the theaters. I watched the films in the theaters, and they've mostly all been superb, high-class blockbuster entertainment. 2023's Dead Reckoning was superb, one of the best films that year. Just a high adrenaline, excellently structured spy action thriller with some awesome set pieces. It was tragic that the film underperformed at the box office. Not a total flop, but it was a disappointment. However, I can attribute that to it getting gobbled up by Barbenheimer, which came out a week after Dead Reckoning. And it turns out not even Tom Cruise could overcome those odds. It was truly Mission Impossible at the box office. Maybe all of that dampened my anticipation for The Final Reckoning, formerly named Dead Reckoning Part 2. To where, based on the trailers, I was feeling a bit of franchise fatigue. It was a lot of the same kind of imagery and dialogue in every Mission Impossible trailer. Not to mention it was going head-to-head in its opening weekend against Lilo and Stitch, and that was going to take up most folks' attention, including mine. But you always got to give Tom Cruise a chance because the man truly lives to entertain on a large-scale level, by any means necessary. And The Final Reckoning promised another crazy stunt that'll have you think, this man is f***ing crazy. In this film, Ethan Hunt must stop the sinister intentions of a hostile AI program who intends to bring about the world's final reckoning. Each Mission Impossible film is largely a standalone adventure that doesn't require too much knowledge about the previous film. The Final Reckoning is the first one, though, that I wouldn't say that about. The previous film, Dead Reckoning, sets up the plot, stakes, and newer characters. Jumping into The Final Reckoning without having seen Dead Reckoning would be unwise. This movie also makes a lot of callbacks to previous Mission Impossible films, earlier films which admittedly I don't remember much about. Not so much in a super story relevance kind of way, but more so in a let's reference these films for fun kind of way through a lot of flashback callbacks. It kind of gives a sense of finality for this film, as this movie attempts to tie everything together from the franchise. It had made me wish I had done a marathon of all the films prior to this one, but all I had time to do was watch The Dead Reckoning again. But I don't remember too much about Mission Impossible 1 or 2, so those flashback callbacks weren't as effective for me. Now, the whole AI-centered plot of this movie is quite timely, alerting us to things that we certainly hope isn't in our new future. This movie has the whole sophisticated, smart blockbuster filmmaking and direction that's been in this franchise since Ghost Protocol, and I would argue even Mission Impossible 3. These are very smart movies in how they're put together, with amazing casts, great direction, and a variety of action scenes that give you everything you need to have a great time. The major thing this movie didn't give me, though, was great pacing. This was surprisingly a pretty slow movie through the first half. There was a cool classic Mission Impossible style opening scene and intro, but for a lot of the first half of the movie, I was getting needlessly bored as by relentless and repetitive planning setup that just kept going on for circles for what felt like 30 or 40 minutes. Not to mention that the settings were pretty stale. There was a lot of time spent in a submarine. Through the first half of this film, it was the complete opposite of Dead Reckoning, which was fast-paced, thrilling, and thoroughly entertaining. The Final Reckoning's first half was slow, repetitive, and loose. At this point, it was impossible not to be worried about the film at this point. But the movie, to some degree anyway, makes up for all of these pre-planning scenes with a payoff of an unbelievable underwater midpoint set piece that's truly incredible. The way it was practically filmed and the classic Mission Impossible escalation of uh-oh moments made for one hell of a scene. Although more so than any other mission scene in these films, the end of this scene was the biggest, oh bullshit, ain't no way you would have survived that moment. There were 3 deadly factors that should have killed his ass at the end, but that's what makes Ethan Hunt a legendary hero to watch in action. From here, the movie definitely picked up in energy and fun and was more so in line with the previous few films. The fun of these movies is seeing Hunt in impossible situations, and they saved the best for last with the most legendary stunt sequence I've ever seen. It's been well promoted, the plane chase stunt that has Tom Cruise crawling up and down a small plane as it's thousands of feet in the air. It's truly breathtaking to witness in the context of witnessing a holy shit danger work in this stunt. Besides the great stunt work, the stakes are the highest for a Mission Impossible film here because of the nuclear chaos brought together by the AI program known as the Entity. The nuclear stakes were just driving everyone understandably crazy when you see the choices the government was faced here. By the way, Angela Bassett would get my vote for president any day. She was just amazing here. The entire ensemble cast was great. No one is able to touch Cruise in terms of amount of screen time to shine, but they give the supporting team members an okay amount of stuff to do, and it really does feel like a team at the end. Hayley Atwell, Simon Pegg, Pom Klementieff, and Ving Rhames have expectedly good performances and are nice characters in supporting roles. I wasn't sure what they do with Pom Clementieff's character after Dead Reckoning, but I thought they found a fun role for her here. And Hayley Atwell is just perfect for a Mission Impossible film. It now makes sense why Ving Rhames wasn't able to reprise his role as Cobra Bubbles and Lilo and Stitch this weekend, because he was busy doing this film, but they do some effective things with his character. The second half of this film's high-stakes plot, great set pieces, and just all-around good filmmaking saved this film from a middling start. The first half of the movie was honestly meh to me. The second half, highlighted by that underwater scene and Tom Cruise crawling up and down a f***ing plane from every angle, was legendary. You do the math on that, and it's an excellent film.
Excellent.
But it's not a full banger's excellent because that first half was just a little too slow. But it's a soft but good excellent.
Excellent.
It's a long movie that's somewhat needlessly long because of that slow first half. Without spoiling things, the movie didn't quite have the sense of finality I was expecting from the title, The Final Reckoning. Feels like it was more of a marketing ploy than anything, but it's Hollywood, so who would expect anything else? It turned out to be an unbelievable Memorial Day weekend at the box office for Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch. Stitch just made a banger's amount of money, $145 million for the 3-day and then $183 for the 4-day weekend. I expected it to do great, but that was definitely and pleasantly an overperformance. But I'm happy Mission Impossible did good business as well. A 3-day total of $63 million and the total 4-day weekend total of $77 million. And that's after the underperformance of Dead Reckoning, so there was plenty of money to go around for everyone after the Memorial Weekend box office show flops of Furiosa and Garfield last year. I would say it was Mission Stitch Possible at the box office, but that's a crossover that happened on Disney Channel. So that'll do it for this review of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.